Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, I missed a lot of the testimony because I was upstairs in another one, another meeting on this, but I heard some of the comments, and when I read Mrs. Swaminathan, am I close?
Yes.
And since I arrived here, there have been several other questions along this timeline of approvals. And I thought I was just confused because of the last response you made, that perhaps some hydro can be shorter.
Right. So I think the last question that Congressman Schrader was asking me was about a pilot process that FERC set up pursuant to the HREA passed in 2013, where they were directed to have a 2-year licensing process as a model, as a pilot, to see if it was possible. There was a solicitation, and our project on Kentucky Lock and Dam 11 was the only project chosen nationwide to be in that pilot process.
So have the projects that you have in mind in Morgantown, Cumberland, and
Opakiska.
Yeah. How long have they been in the pipeline?
So we are awaiting licensure on Opakiska and Morgantown, and we have been working on those projects since 2010 to 2011.
So it's been 5 to 6 years.
Yes.
It just begs the question, with everyone in Washington interested in renewables, why something like hydro would go 7 to 10 years or longer as compared to solar and wind? I don't think you kill any birds, do you? Okay. And I don't think you create any sound problems that people have with wind. Personally, I love wind, and I'm fascinated with the solar panel, but I don't know why the hydro facility would take so long. So can you give me some perspective on why you think government, drags out the permitting for hydro facilities? Because surely they understand the impact they have on, they're eventually going to approve them. And they have an impact on people's economy in those communities. Look at what happened in New Martinsville. They were able to build a new courthouse and a school building down there. There are so many. Why is this?
Absolutely. We couldn't agree with your question more. I think it points to the need to modernize a process that is potentially antiquated and does not distinguish between projects that have potentially legitimate issues or need analysis that spans many years. But the kinds of projects that we work on, including Morgantown and Opakiska, by and large have relatively limited impacts, both hydraulic and terrestrial. The physical footprint is very small, and the hydraulic impacts are very limited. And I think that's fairly broadly acknowledged, as evidenced by the fact that typically stakeholders in our licensing process don't generate a lot of controversy. I think there's a fair amount of collaborativeness in the process. However, it does stretch out for a very long time.
Joe Bart and I are the only 2 licensed engineers in Congress, so this is something that I've been fretting with for 40-some years in my practice in engineering, and that was why our dams, our low-head dams, why we're not using low-head turbines on every one of them. But so, is it bureaucracy that's holding it up? Why don't we have more?
Oh, well, we don't have more of these across the board because when you look at the entire playing field for new hydro development on existing dams relative to other generation sources, investors look at this playing field and the timeline and the fact that the risks are not sequentially taken off the table effectively discourage investors from investing in hydropower.
So in the 50-some second, what would be the first step you would take to shorten the time frame?
So I think in terms of the FERC licensing process, it's possible to adopt that pilot 2-year process with some cleanups and tweaks to be more applicable to a precisely defined but nationally significant group of projects and make that more applicable. All of these projects, including Morgantown and Opakiska, on federal facilities, on Army Corps facilities, go through additional permitting by the federal government at the Army Corps, and some part of that is absolutely essential. But there are parts of that process that are duplicative. and importantly, from private capital's point of view, leave unresolved very important parameters until very late in a combined permitting cycle. And finally, I think there is space for the federal government to recognize the value of public-private partnerships, because these projects are ways to bring private capital to invest in our aging dam infrastructure.
Thank you very much. I yield back.